Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 4 stories for you from the Tales from Tech Support subreddit. The Karma Stories podcast is published to all major podcasting platforms, and you can also read along on YouTube under our @Karma Stories podcast handle. Alright, on to the tech stories. Let's get our nerd on. This story comes to us from the Barcode Lad. The Curse of Being a Youngin'. Hello, welcome. This is more of a rambling complaint post. Just as a bit of preface, I'm in my early 20s, worked in tech for a bit over 2 years. No degree, only official qualification in IT is a GCSE, UK exam for 15 to 16 year olds. Working on qualifications like CompTIA, Net Plus, Sec Plus, ITIL, Linux, etc. And done a whole load of IT stuff at home, like a NOS, gaming rig, fixing crap, but whatever. Job title's Junior Technical Support Engineer. Lot of words for a kid who hangs out on the phones. Couple months ago, I walk into the server room in the office. It sounds louder than normal. One of the racks sounds a bit aggressive and unhappy. No real way to describe it other than that, just that it didn't sound right. Autism helps me out there. I can just feel the unfamiliarity of the sound in my bones. So I walk out, carrying the bits I went in there for, walk up to my manager. Hey manager, one of the racks in there sounds kinda loud and aggressive. Can we open it up and have a look? Loud and aggressive? What do you mean? I don't know, just not quite right. Sounds like it might be coming from a UPS. No idea what you mean, but whatever, I'll take a quick peek. Following a 5-minute audio and temp examination with ears and hands, we determine it's definitely the UPS, and it's definitely hot. Outlets air nice and toasty. Check the stats on our online portal. Temps are a little high, but nothing major. It's possibly a short circuit or a battery issue. Should we open it up? No, it's probably just a broken fan or something working too hard. We'll log a ticket, and we'll get a tech to come out in the next few days. Cool. Weird analysis, but not my problem. Server infrastructure isn't my thing. I just pick up the phone for people who can't right-click. Next day, get in early, and manager's already there. Not good. Hey man, why you in so early? You don't start for another hour, and I thought you were work from home today. Yeah, we got a call from maintenance at 5 a.m. with a notification the rack's running too hot, so I had to come in. I think it's the AC. The repair guy's been working on building AC all week. The air distributor should usually move up and down, but it's just staying still. I don't think the air distributor thing usually moves, and even if it did, it shouldn't make any difference. I'm still pretty sure it's a short circuit or a battery. I really think we should open it up and check it out. Nah, it'll be fine. We'll wait for the tech. Yes, boss. Doesn't sit right with me, but I'm not authorized to open stuff up or override my manager. I drop it. Rack gets louder throughout the day, temps keep rising, AC works harder than normal, room gets louder. Sure you don't want to check it before we leave, just in case? Yeah, it'll be fine. I wake up the next day. It's a day off for me, nice little bit of annual leave just before my birthday. Spend a couple hours chilling, then realize I left my work phone on. As I go to switch it off, I notice a text in the group chat. Hey all, I was called in at 5 a.m. today by maintenance as one of the batteries in the Rack 4 UPS leaked overnight. It's now running on dirty power until fixed. X system is not operational, we're dealing with it. Colleagues 1 and 2, can you deal with phones? Colleagues 3 and 4, join my meeting later. Colleague 5, don't forget to contact supplier. I'm a junior, not a moron. Please listen to me sometimes. I promise I'm not as dumb as I may seem. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Kellimvor Sparky Fox. It says, Stage 1 is when they ignore you. Stage 2 is when they implement your proposed solutions as their own. Another commenter called Reinventing Wheels said, Stage 3 is when they blame you for not bringing the issue up sooner. Ah yes, the fun of being young. You're able to articulate that it's likely a serious issue, but because they think you don't know what you're talking about, or maybe they don't know what they're talking about, you get ignored. Around the age of 25-26 years old, my wife and I owned a convenience store, and it was one of a large chain. So when Karens came in and wanted to speak to the manager because something wasn't perfect, they wouldn't understand that I was the manager, and they still weren't going to get what they wanted. OP, I feel for you. This story comes to us from SadMission6754. I'm looking at it right now, and there's no screen. First time poster, but I used to work in a call center for a cell provider. Many times, people would call in with hardware issues that weren't really our problem to fix, since we really only dealt with the cell service. But today was a slow day, and I was happy, so I felt like helping this guy out. Mistake number 1. He was an older guy and not familiar with technology, but that's fine. I've worked with people that don't know technology really well before. I wish I was exaggerating, but I've literally had to describe to people what the power button is on their phone. Anyway, this guy bought a new phone with us and activated the day before, so he was asking for help turning his phone on and setting it up. Now, I worked in phone support and did not have the phone with me, so I had to walk him through these steps verbally. I could see that, based on his IMEI, he had a Samsung Galaxy A14. I walked him through inserting the SIM card, then asked him to hold the power button to turn the phone on. When he asked where the power button was, I gave him the answer I've unfortunately had to give to more people than I would have ever believed before working technical support. If you're looking at the screen, it will be on the right side of the phone. You'll see one big button, which is the volume button, and one smaller one. That one is the power button. What I wasn't ready for was his response. My phone doesn't have a screen. You have the Samsung Galaxy A14, right? I replied, even though I knew he did, because the steps to insert the SIM were all followed perfectly. But I wanted to make sure we weren't working with a flip phone and had the wrong IMEI. When he told me that he had a Samsung smartphone, I told him it did have a screen and the whole front side of it was the screen. That was when he yelled back at me, "You can see the phone I have, right?" I had mentioned that we had the IMEI, and that's how I knew what phone he had. I'm looking at it right now, and it has no screen. I really wasn't sure how else to describe the screen to this guy over the phone. I almost decided to just have him go to a neighbor or tech support place to just do it for him, because helping him over the phone was clearly not working. I'm not sure if it really was that he was oblivious to what a phone screen was, or if he didn't want to follow instructions and wanted me to press our magical make it work button. I decided to just have him try to describe what he was looking at on his phone right now. And he said, well, it has 3 circles and then it's completely flat. Honestly, the call was silent for way too long as I tried to process the fact that this guy was looking at the back of his phone the entire time and decided to yell at me instead of turning his phone around because he could not see the screen. After getting him to turn it on, I just told him to follow the on-screen prompts to finish setup of his phone and ended the call. I knew there were tech illiterate people and I tend to be fairly patient with them, but yelling at me that there's no screen on a smartphone while you're staring at the cameras? Really? Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Earthman34. It says, people will rarely surprise you with how smart they are, but will often surprise you with how smart they are not. Another commenter down below called Warlock608 said, I found that people don't like feeling stupid, and instead of forgiving themselves for being human, they lash out at the nearest person. Tech makes people feel really stupid, and the less secure they are with themselves, the more they will take that frustration out on others. Paid my way through college in a call center, it really realigned my notion of how stupid the people of this country are. Ah yes, the incompetent user, the kind of person that when their computer doesn't work, disconnects their monitor and takes that into the repair shop. Wait a second, OP, were you dealing with my dad? This story comes to us from Comfortable Scale 132, the dumpster fire of a Teams meeting. This is just a couple of years ago. I work the help desk team currently, but I have a lot of experience in team leadership, administration, information security, development, and project management. So I am normally a liaison between help desk and other teams, providing advice and guidance. This is for a large fulfillment and logistics company. A project comes in which is to build a brand new centralized reporting tool. This is to replace the loads of Power BI, Excel, and Access databases that exist on the network that use ODBC connections to connect to SQL databases. There is no standard at this time. The database team has built out databases that are replicated from the production databases called reporting databases. No applications depend on these reporting databases, and there isn't much of a delay between the two. The problem begins when end users that work on the warehouse floor ask developers for the password to the production databases to do this reporting in Excel. The devs think nothing of it. The problem is, the account has administrative privileges, so it could both read and write data. And now, a regular Joe with a handheld scanner picking clothes for an order has God rights to these databases. Then, their management creates a spreadsheet that lists all of the passwords in plain text in SharePoint. Then, they build these Excel reports that query every 5 minutes on multiple machines across the enterprise. This cripples the databases, so they want this centralized reporting tool. Now, I'm aware of the use of these accounts. I spoke with the database team and they thanked me for telling them. They didn't know the full extent of the problem, and neither did I at the time. They encouraged me and the rest of the help desk team to push users into running queries against the reporting databases. This, however, was difficult to enforce. Okay, now you have the background. Now here is the dumpster. The meeting begins. The project management team, reporting team, the fulfillment team, help desk team, and database team. One of the heads of fulfillment shares screen and begins talking about these reports. The screen share shows some of the queries, and it immediately pulls the attention of the database team. Why the production databases? How did you get access? What accounts are you using? Then, here comes the flames. The moment that team realized that everyone knew the administrator passwords, the inferno began. Everyone sat quiet while the database manager was berating the fulfillment teams. My manager and I both are having a good chuckle to the side. I step away to straight up pop popcorn. I come back to the meeting. This guy is seething. He is asking questions such as, how did you get these accounts? Who approved this? These passwords are in plain text for all to see? You mean to tell me anyone can just drop a table? Information security team gets pulled into the call. The fulfillment team managers and leads were stuttering as they could not begin to answer the questions. This manager was on a rampage. I could hear the veins popping in his forehead through his voice, accusing this team of causing a potential security breach. He accused them of causing all of the outages, such as application slowness, random disconnects, and data completely missing. That they were either doing this deliberately or accidentally out of ignorance. After he was done, you could hear a pin drop. His last words, "I'm revoking access, this project is dead." He then disconnected and took a week-long leave. Just typing this out has gotten me hyped up again. Jumping down to the comment section, we have one from a user called TMSTKSBK. I have no idea what that says. It says, I mean, just change the passwords, point them back to the replicated databases, and give them limited users. Stupid definitely happened, but this doesn't sound like a productive response. OP responded to this one and said, oh, he was angry. After his week-long reprieve, steps were taken to make everyone happy. So this guy made them go a week without the reports, which would actually lead them to understand better which reports they actually need, and they could request that access and get it properly this time. This story comes to us from FreaksLP3000. Customer doesn't understand the difference between a hard disk drive and a solid-state drive. Okay, so this is my first story here, and English is not my first language, so please keep that in mind. Also, this is probably going to be one of many stories over the next years, as I am working basically in the tech support industry. I work for a fairly old company that has been building and configuring servers for customers all over Europe, and even a few across the globe in China, USA, and the likes. One of our products is a standard server chassis with hardware tailored to the customer's needs with motherboard, CPU, and NIC, and any add-on cards the customer needs. This customer bought a fairly standard server with not really any special motherboard or crazy CPU, and just a network card and a storage controller as an add-on card. We shipped it out to the customer about a year or two ago, all working fine with a few SSDs installed in the 12 SSD HDD slots, operating system already installed. Now, there were still a few empty slots left, so we kept the trays for installing additional 3.5-inch hard drives in the chassis as per company policy. Now, on to the not so experienced customer whom had bought additional hard drives. Yes, you heard that right, hard disk drives, which although not much, are still slower than solid state drives. Now, as I said before, we installed SSDs as per the customer's orders. All items are put in an invoice which is sent to the customer for approval and final go for the order, so the customer knew full well what they were getting. Now, a couple weeks ago, our support team gets a ticket stating that one of their drives in the server is substantially slower than the others, and they can't work like this and whatnot. So after about 20 emails back and forth, and the email chain growing and growing with pauses in between because of vacations and sickness on their side, we finally get to the point where my colleague has no more idea and decides, you know what, there's nothing wrong with the server, but the IT guy from their company will not believe or accept that. So we go ahead and build a complete copy of their server. They swap the SSDs and HDDs and send us back the faulty server. After some time, the email chain growing to about 70 emails, which is a hassle to read through in order to find out what exactly the problem was in the first place, we get the server. I am tasked with testing it by basically letting it run under full load and testing several drive slots at the same time to see if anything is broken or has any errors. And by full load, I mean full load. That server was running for several days under 100% CPU, 100% RAM, and maximum performance each disk could achieve. And no issues, no errors, or any sudden reboots or slower speeds even under highly unlikely 100% CPU load. So now we have spent our time and effort fixing a non-existent problem. Afterwards, I then found out through my colleague that the customer installed the hard disk drive and that they had a talk about the slower speeds of the hard disk drive and that it's likely the problem the IT guy from the other company was reporting. But he was too shy or embarrassed to admit via email or on the phone with my colleague. Needed context for the story? The server we're talking about cost them about 10,000 euros, plus about 5,000 euros in service fees for our support and advanced replacement if needed. We, on the other hand, could buy these parts for about 7,500 euros, so we still made money, but it's way less whenever something has to be replaced, because we can't sell these parts as new. We can only keep them in our stock, mark them as service, and send them out once somebody needs a warranty replacement or an advanced replacement. So you mean to tell me that OP is a quote-unquote IT professional and they didn't even remote into that server to see what the problem was? In fact, there were over 70 emails sent back and forth before somebody actually figured out what was going on here? I don't think the problem in this case is with the user putting the hard disk drive in. I think the problem here is with the training for these quote-unquote IT professionals. If you enjoy daily Reddit stories, I encourage you to follow and add us to the favorites on whichever podcasting platform you enjoy the most. If you're watching and listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.